Hey guys, what's up? It's me, PigBoy25 here, and today I am bringing you part 10 of my top 100 coaster countdown Bonanza. Now, I'm so sorry about not uploading for like 9, 10, 11 days. It's been pretty hectic. I would have had this video up like 5 days earlier, but the computer was being hogged, the weekend was busy, I wanted to catch the playoffs. I didn't find time to record independently, free distraction. Like, you know the reason why I upload once in a blue moon. That's a few videos ago. You should know it by now. But I'm finally reaching the double digits of the part, the Bonanza. This is the part before I reveal my 10 favorite coasters. And we're going to see a few entries here, some high-tier entries as well. These are coasters that I would happily ride and happily exchange for good things in my home park. Whether, I don't know what it'd be. Just, these coasters are really good. Maybe they're top tier and they got dissed. Maybe they're lower and I really like them. Maybe they're just generally, top 20% of a 100 credit count guy. And you'll see a few of those, you'll see some good coasters here. There's going to be, of course, this video will contain a high dose of opinions. Lethal to some, if you're sensitive. The dose depends on, the audience. But yeah, let's resume. Number 20 is Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Now this ride, there's one word to describe it. Balanced. They have a little bit of everything. They have 3 launches. They have airtime hills. They have a heartline roll. Bank turns, S-curves, elevation changes, and some intensity as well. Like, I really think this ride is the ultimate package, ultimate family package, ultimate balance package. And it's a barrel of fun as well. And it's a really long ride. It's a great ride. And it was the first ride I opened with, or first ride I rode at BGT, Busch Gardens, Tampa. Fine opener. Really good way to start off the day. And my third favorite coaster at Busch Gardens, Tampa. And trust me, you'll see all 3 remaining entries of Busch Gardens, Tampa in this video. Which, this is the third one. Number 19 is Afterburn. Now, this one, I will admit, was a bit of a disappointment. I was expecting an intense and smooth-esque, old-style invert, classic invert. It did have some jerkiness, and it was not as intense as I believed it would be. I think it did still have its very intense moments. It did definitely bring some graying out and some rushes down the spine. But I think Raptor is more intense, but it's slightly lower because it's slightly rougher, and I rode it more times. And this is the first good Batwing I ever experienced, which is one of the star elements of this ride. The first Batwing I ever experienced was Vortex at Kings Island. Wasn't the best Batwing, was not a good Batwing. And it was also, we're going to get into nitpicking here, it was kind of hard to find. It's just in a secluded back corner of the park near the Yo-Yo, Camp Snoopy, the looping starship, or the looping pirate ship, and the Plants vs. Zombies thing. Thunder Road used to be in that location. The entrance would have been pretty close to the exits of Afterburn, right by the Plants vs. Zombies theater, but no. Thunder Road is gone. Sadly. But it's all past this at this point. It's just nitpicking the location, though, considering it is a considerable distance from Flying Cobras, formerly Carolina Cobra, when I went, or Nighthawk or Intimidator. It's a fair distance from them. It's not the rapid-fire coasters you usually see. Another big distance between the front of the park, between Intimidator and Vortex. That's another distance. Basically, from the front right to the front left. That's another big distance, because you have to go through the entrance and whatnot. That's just nitpicking. This is easily the 3rd best ride at Carowinds, because it doesn't really have much competition. It's a great ride, and is it's basically one of the better inverts I've ridden. And for the 6 inversion models, it's pretty high up there. I do like Afterburn a lot. Now, continuing the trend of disappointment, we have the biggest disappointment of 2016 for me. It is Superman the Ride. I was expecting so much from this coaster. It would have been my top 2 hypers. I was predicting all this. Top 2 hypers I've ever ridden with stiff competition from Diamondback. I was expecting this to be a top 5 coaster, easily top 10. Best ride at Six Flags New England, but no. Multiple problems presented themselves before, during, and after the ride. And the most glaringly obvious problem is the VR. It just makes me want to die every time a train is dispatched. Every time a train is dispatched after 5 minutes of waiting, I die a little bit inside. It's just, it kills all the anticipation, kills all the adrenaline, realizing you're going to be standing in what would be a 10-15 minute line for an hour. It's just, it just frustrated me so much. I wanted to try VR, but I eventually settled for a second row ride without VR. I even had to go as a single rider. I had to ditch behind my passenger to move along in our day. I would have rode with my cousin Jack, or my second cousin Jack, and just, I had to leave him behind in order to take an empty seat, because else I would have been waiting for another 20 minutes. It just frustrated me. And, of course, the second problem's, once you get into the train, another problem begins. The first problem sets after you dispatched, and then another problem rises, the restraints. They are awful. Uncomfortable, bulky, airtight lap bars I've ever had the displeasure of being strapped into. You're motionless, you're constricted, your blood flow is clamped to your legs, there's no room for you to move your feet around. It is the worst lap bars that I've ever used, ever had the displeasure of being strapped into. I don't know if there's a trick for it. And just the ride itself. It's smooth, fast, got some good airtime, but just overhyped. It is overhyped. I expected so much more. And from all the disappointment I got before the ride started, it was not worth it. It was a big disappointment. And, of course, there were sudden transition jerks in the back half. It wasn't the smoothest transitions going from bank turn to airtime hill. Airtime was really good, and the restraints still hurt on the ride because they're so thick, bulky, airtight. It's worse than Skyrush's restraints. I'll say that right now. Skyrush at least had room for you to breathe during the opening and when you're first strapped in, and during the ride itself. The restraint is awful everywhere. Now, if this ride had Millennium Force style T-bars, thin, constraining, and still gave you a lot of room in the legs, this ride would easily be in top 15. But the restraints are god-awful. I mean, also, once the second problem sets, well, actually, problems 1 and 2 come together once the ride's over. You're stacked for another 2 or 3 minutes with nothing but the sensation of the restraints cramping into your legs, clamping your blood flow, just strangulating your legs until they turn blue and purple. It's awful. I love the ride itself. I love what they've done with this thing, but just fix the trains, ditch the VR, and let this thing run vanilla, like its rival Millennium Force was supposed to intend it to be. I mean, no wonder what was Bizarro, now Superman the Ride, hasn't won a Golden Ticket Award in several years. Millennium Force is so much better than this. I'm going to say that right now. This thing is just... I love it, but I hate it at the same time. Now, I want to move on. Number 17. Come on. Sheikra. There we go. I pressed the shift key instead of the right arrow. Yeah. Single longest wait I stood in at Busch Gardens, Tampa. That's the achievement of Sheikra. It's 40 minutes long wait. It was longest wait I stood in all day there. It was a fine experience, and definitely different from the next spot, Valravn, because those two are constantly fighting for the next entry. Sheikra has got restraints that are bulkier but don't have micro-click, which makes the ride feel less constraining, more free. There's a bit more room for you to breathe in your restraints, but there is some jostling. The Immelmann, splashdown, and the second drop, those are all nice touches, and good layout as well. This ride I do really like this ride. Also, I do like the fact that it ran, Valravn ran 3 trains, but they also dispatched these pretty quickly, and they can load 2 trains at once. They loaded 2 trains at once in the station. When one was let go, they let another one board. Or it's like they let one train get off while another one was loading or something like that. 2 trains were in the station and one was navigating the track. That's basically how it went. And I did intentionally go for front row on this ride. It was good. Front row is the best way to go on dive coasters. And just, personally, the reason why Valravn's over this, I put smoothness above almost everything else in terms of judging coasters. Smoothness is my number 1 criteria, because the ride has to be enjoyable for me to like it. It's like, if my head's being thrashed around, but there's good forces, good airtime, it's like, oh, I'm gonna ignore all the pain I went through and just like the airtime. No, it has to be a good experience. I'm not gonna ignore skull splitting pain and say that the airtime was good. I'm not gonna do that. Now, here's Valravn. You all know this is coming. It's one of the youngest coasters in the entire list, along with Cobra's Curse, both opening in 2016. And it's a fine work. It's a great introduction to diet coasters. This was my first diet coaster and arguably one of the best ways to start it. I loved almost every moment, and it was just pure fun. Now, the reason why it's so high at number 16, above Superman the Ride, Raptor, and other things that are arguably better than it, it's because I just want to ignore quality and have fun. I don't have to be so critical when I'm just out at Cedar Point having a good day. Then again, it's coming from a guy, like I said last time, who ranks coasters lower than they should be for any kind of displeasure. And, yeah, I know. Hypocrisy. Shun me now. I'm just gonna say, this was a fun ride. Very fun. And the Immelmann was huge. Very fun. Nice hang time. Dive loop was fine. Zero G-roll, fantastic. The extras connected it all together pretty well. And this was my fourth favorite coaster at Cedar Point, and the best of the high tiers, which is Magnum, Wicked Twister, Raptor, Gatekeepers, Rougarou, and this. Not in really any particular order. You can go through the rest of my list and see where they are. I recommend watching like parts 7 through this, if you want to see how they rank. Or just watch another video that I might have uploaded at one point. Or, no, I don't think I've uploaded a top 15 coasters at Cedar Point. Moving on. Number 15 is Skyrush. Now, speaking of bad lap bars, I did mention Skyrush in the Superman the Ride entry. These are infamous lap bars. You don't hear too much talk about the bad lap bars of Superman the Ride, but you always hear the restraints mentioned when Skyrush is even talked about for a minute. Now, at least the ride is forceful and good enough to counteract a little bit of displeasure that you get during the lap bars. And this is actually a really odd thing because Skyrush is pretty much just where it was about a year ago. I mean, it's one of the lowest coaster entries that hasn't had a significant rise or sink. It would have fallen, if it had not moved at all, it would have fallen like 5 spots. But I've realized that the ride was actually really good. Airtime was phenomenal. The restraints are comfortable when you put them on, but then they get tense when you're on the brake run. And the ride, forceful, intense, and out of control. And the final airtime hills are arguably the single best airtime moments I've ever experienced. And probably this, like, even ejector and floater combined. Experience is fantastic. This is a world-class coaster, but just some minor bad memories, such as contorting my spine beyond 90 degrees when I try to put my hands up on the first bank drop like an idiot. And the restraint issues fault this ride. It's below a perfect potential. It's below perfect potential. It's not a 10 out of 10, but it's still really good. We just have some forces counteracting each other and the good side wins. This ride is good enough and wild enough, insane enough to counteract the bad that was presented on Superman the Ride. I think Skyrush is a superior ride to that. It is a great ride. Now, number 14 is Montu. This coaster holds a special place in my heart and is a very special place in my coaster history. I intentionally made this my 100th coaster credit. Valid coaster credit. When I was counting credits going to New England, Carowinds, I did get all the credits of Carowinds, and I intentionally rode this third so I can reach 98 on Cheetah Hunt, 99 on Cobra's Curse, and 100 valid credits, which is the main reason this list was spawned, so I can celebrate reaching 100 legitimate credits. So, yeah, I think I'm actually like closer to like 112 or something, if you count like kiddie coasters, deceased credits, and credits that I rode but don't rank. Because I have a very odd way of doing this. This is the best classic invert I've ever ridden. I'm just going to say that right now. Smooth, intense, and very fun. Edged out Raptor, most definitely. Definitely edged out Afterburn in terms of intensity, smoothness, extra inversions, and the Batwing. Like, this ride is so good. And it's my favorite ride at Busch Gardens, Tampa. We had Cheetah Hunt at 20, Sheikra at 17, and Montu at 14. It is not the best invert I've ever ridden. A modern invert just edges it out, and it's coming right now. Banshee. This is an unpopular opinion, but this modern invert is way better, not way better, but better than any classic I've ever ridden. And it probably goes along with my smoothness priority. I think the best restraints reduce any jostling, and the smooth, graceful experience really just did this. Also, this ride has a little extra finesse that just made it so much better. I cannot deny that the stalled inline twist at the very end, the final inversion, was the best part of the ride. It is the best. It caught me completely off guard, and I loved going through it every time. I rode this thing like 3 times, and I never expected to see it. I think I rode like twice in a row, then I came back at the very last coaster of the day and rode it. I rode this thing more time than Diamondback. That's saying something. And the vest restraints, I love the smoothness, I love the vest restraints, and they don't tighten like X-Lights. I love the ride experience, and I love that it starts with an Immelmann rather than a loop. And the loop goes around the lift hill. It's just so graceful. I love the finesse of this ride. And the theme is very well. It has the only pretzel knot as well. The queue's a graveyard, the station's a cathedral, the screen as you crest the lift hill, and even a little tombstone dedicated to Son of Beast. That's an Easter egg. That right there is just... I love the theme. And if it hadn't been for like those little extra details, Montu would have surpassed this ride. Because intensity would have won the fight over smoothness if it didn't have these little extra nuggets of greatness. Just, that's a quote. Nuggets of greatness, Peakboard 25, 2017. Yeah. People, I will say, people are always entitled to their opinions if it's along the lines of this. But Banshee, in my opinion, is the best invert I've ever ridden. Case closed. Number 12 is Goliath at Six Flags Great America. Second place finisher from my home park. It actually rose in the ranks from last year. It's another local coaster charm that I found more appealing than it did last year. I realized that it's really good. It fits so much in what little space they had. They had Iron Wolf in this spot, and now they have this. They had so little room, but they did so much with it. And I believe in 2015 it was like 16th or 17th. It was an honorable mention in my top 15 last year. It surpassed that point, even with 20 plus new entries, because I just found it so much better. I just realized its true value. And I paid more attention to it, analyzed its layout, appreciated the quality, and like I said, it does a lot in so little. I mean, both incursion, autocorrect, both inversions on this ride are fantastic. The few moments of airtime in here are aggressive, and the drop is one of the steepest I've ever experienced. It's quick, fast, steep, and snappy. That's the words I'd use to describe Goliath's drop, and the lift hill is at a nice angle as well. It is just it's a beautiful looking lift hill. Not only do you have the lift hill itself, it's such a nice arch, but you also have the track going under it. And the ride is over very quickly. That's my only... I have a couple flaws with this, though. It's a must-ride when I visit, but that's a couple flaws. Bad capacity. It's not the theoretical capacity that's bad. It's the actual capacity. It's due to slow dispatches, lots of stacking, and problems that come up. Not from the ride itself, but lots of operational problems. And the ride, despite... You can wait up to 3 hours for this thing on a busy day, and it's over very quickly. I mean, I've gotten more used to it. I've looked past those flaws. I will admit that there is another coaster. Well, you should know that there is another coaster that surpasses this. And you know which one it is. It will partake in the series finale. Stay tuned. And number 11, to wrap up this list, is Goliath. Another one at Six Flags Over Georgia. Another Goliath. Trust me, this one's different. Trust me, guys. This is a B&M Hyper, and it disappointed me on my first impressions. But it was still really hard to deny that this ride was fantastic. Good floater airtime. I was expecting this to have nice floater airtime, be forceful in the double helix, and have a good old-fashioned B&M Hyper drop, considering the only B&M Hyper I've ridden at that point was Raging Bull, which has one of the best drops I've ever experienced. All those things ranked below expectations. Airtime was average, double helix was forceless somewhat, and the drop was nothing compared to Raging Bulls. The final buddy hills were also unpleasant. I sat in the back row and they aggressively thrusted you not out of, but into the lap bar. Maybe I'm overreacting on this one. My last ride was August of 2015, but I think I remember what I was doing on that. Despite all those things, it's a top-notch ride, and the best ride at Six Flags Over Georgia. It's my least favorite B&M Hyper, but even though the worst B&M Hyper outclasses about 80% of every other ride. Because B&M is good. Really good. So, yeah. If my opinions have killed you, don't get a lawyer. I'm not trained to get these cases. This has been part 10 of my top 100 coaster count on Bonanza. We are so close to finishing up. You will see my favorite coaster of all time. You'll see some really high-ranking entries, some new challengers that have thrust themselves into the top 10. The whole series will come to a close. I started it in like late August, September. It took me all the way till January, possibly February, depending on how much I procrastinate. I want to get this part 11 out by the end of the month. And do you want me to make an extra video of this? Maybe I'll ask you in part 11, but if I want to try to see if I can make another one of these, because I also want to say, at the very end, if you're watching to this point, the list is constantly shifting. A couple things from part 7, 6, 7, 8 have shifted around. Like, I realized some rides aren't as good. Like, Cobra's Curse recently took a 1 or 2 or 3 spot plummet. So you'll see that maybe next year. A couple things have gone up a spot. They maybe shifted places. Things shift constantly because it's like, I'd rather take this over this, even though it's such a tough battle. And also getting re-rides would really help. Because notes from 2015, 2014, they don't help. Because I don't remember them as well. I didn't take any documentation. All I have to go by is my memory. So Fiesta, Texas, Six Flags America, Kings Island, Hershey Park, St. Louis, over Georgia, they're all hazier than this year, which is like New England, Carowinds, Busch Gardens, Tampa, Cedar Point, Six Flags Great America, and 2017 up and coming. So I'm going to wrap up the video here. If you guys have enjoyed the video, feel free to be active, feel free to like, comment, and if you do so, be the highest honor that you can do on YouTube and subscribe. And I really hope you guys have enjoyed your holiday. This is recorded on MLK Junior Day. If you guys are off school, which my district does, I hope you had a good day off school. If not, I hope just your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this on. It could be even in 2019 for all I'm concerned. 2025 for all I'm concerned. You can be watching it then. Just whatever day you're watching this in, have a good day. And as always, peace.